in this section of our series on how to fit exercise and activity into a busy routine, we're going to look at what you can do with the time that you set aside to exercise, and also how you can stay motivated medium to long term. So, as we've mentioned previously, the important thing is that it's a plan that suits you, and it's going to be different from everybody else's plan, and your plan will evolve as you go through your life. The key, most important element is that you regularly stop and review and think about what's relevant for you at any particular time, and then take the appropriate action. So a nice framework to look at fitting your routine into place is this acronym they teach you when you study in the fitness industry. FIT stands for frequency, intensity, and time. The reason being, these are the variables if someone wants to make a change with their exercise activity routine. Most people initially will think they have to increase the time, but most of us are quite time poor. So sometimes that's an immediate block. I want to get fitter, I don't have time, and it goes no further. So we would suggest looking at this the other way around. Look at a typical week and say, where are you most likely to have small time slots? Maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, once, twice, 3 times a week. Where could you make that happen? And then we've got some starter points in the schedule, because then we can look at the other 2 parts of this acronym. So as long as you can carve out some sort of time, you can then decide how best to make use of that time. So increasing the intensity of any workout is going to make it better value for money, give you better bang for your buck. The most important part of just stepping aside to think about where these small, short activity schedules would occur is that actually the most important element is not necessarily how long you spend on each section, or necessarily even how intense the sessions are, but keeping them regular, keeping them consistent is what makes the biggest difference in the long term. So you can look at your schedule, you can look at short time slots, you can think about how to make the best use of that time. But if you think also about averaging out 2-3 exercise sessions a week over the longer term, that's going to get people mostly to the objectives that they want to achieve. Now, because everybody's different, there will be some flex along the way. But I think for general health and fitness, 2-3 workouts a week with the appropriate content keeps people on track. So don't necessarily think about, the ideal blue sky, loads of time to focus on this. What time do I have? How will I make the best use of that time? Ways to consider best use of the time. Most people are quite familiar with this idea of high intensity interval training at the moment, kind of moving from relative easy or moderate activity, pushing the boundaries, then a bit of recovery. So this image in orange is a simple 5 out of 10 effort for a minute, plus up the ante 8 or 9 out of 10 for a minute, then go back to 5 out of 10, and so on and so forth. That kind of routine, 5, 10, 15 minutes, much more effective than just steady state 5 out of 10 absent-mindedly going through the motions for 40, 45 minutes or so. The beauty of the high intensity interval training is you can mix the format up, so you can choose these different setups, different formats. You can have the one in green, maybe 3 out of 10 effort for a minute or 2, and then up the ante a little bit. This could be walking, swimming, cycling. 5 out of 10 for a minute or so, 6 out of 10, make it a bit tougher. And then rather than just fully recovering, you just come down the intensity scale on the other side of the kind of mountain, so that the effort eases off a little bit, but it's still quite tough. You've still got your heart and lungs working quite hard. The one at the bottom, we recommend lots of people use this one. They seem to find it quite rewarding. That's a minute or half a minute or 2 minutes, 5 out of 10 effort, and then 6 out of 10 for the same period, and then 7, and then 8, and then recover, and then you repeat. And then let's say you do that routine 3 times. On the 3rd cycle, you go up to a 9 out of 10 effort, and then you come back down, you recover. And that's focused, physically focused exercise, but also mentally you have to think about this. So it's great for getting involved, de-stressing, you can't think about much else. Then you know that you've had a quality workout. Could be 20 minutes, could be 30 minutes max, but then it's done. You can forget about it and you can move on. So it's very effective time-wise, but also within the framework of interval training, it gives you the opportunity to keep the variety. I mean, a lot of people will fall off their exercise routine simply because they get bored. But if you're changing the structure, the timings, the elements, how long you work hard for, how long you recover for, It's ever evolving, it keeps you mentally stimulated, but also your body never quite sure what to expect. So it always makes progress, it's always adapting. You keep the benefits coming as you go through the weeks and months. A few other ways to think about making sure your fitness happens. Have, with experiment and trial and error, some sort of knowledge of what a 5-minute workout is for you. What would you do if you had 10 minutes? What are your 20-minute options, and so forth. And this is just kind of trying a few things, gathering information. But the worst thing is if you carve out a spot, you've created 20 minutes and then you arrive there and you're not quite sure what to get on with. And before you know it, the 20-minute slot has gone. So if you know exactly what you're going to do, you see the slot, you get on with it, again, it's done, and you can move on for the rest of the day. So kind of giving yourself some flexibility on what to do in the appropriate times really helps keep the structure in place. It's worth having a thought about how you monitor progress. So we're often suggesting to people that they create some sort of benchmarks. Let's say, for example, you pick the first one. If you have a skipping rope, you can maybe do this today. Skip for a minute. How many skips can you manage? And then you make a note, I'm going to retest that in a month or so. And then I put this fitness routine in place, whichever my desired schedule is. And then I remeasure myself in 4 weeks' time. It's good because it gives you a point of accountability. We all want to prove things to ourselves and others. So hopefully it's going to help hold your structure in place so that you can make sure you get a positive result. As you see this progress, you'll know that the fitness routine is working, and that's your incentive to keep going. So the whole thing becomes a virtuous cycle. You can choose whatever fitness tests you want that are appropriate to you and your objectives and your preferences, but I'd say it's definitely worth measuring something that you can keep track of progress with over time. Another quick way of fitting in exercise is to maybe take just a few exercises. There's 4 in this example, and you do 20 squats, 20 push-ups, 20 lunges on each leg, and then hold the plank for 20 seconds, and then quickly go into cycle 2. 15 squats, 15 push-ups, 15 lunges on each side, and so forth. So it's 20 on the first round, 15 on the second, 10 on the third, and 5 of each on round 4. So it's a whole body workout, strength training, keep you moving, heart and lungs, a little bit of core in there as well. And again, 15-20 minutes, and on with the rest of the day. If you would like to see what some of these things look like, obviously they're slightly sped up in the videos, but you get the idea. You can put small sequences together, you become more familiar with them over time, and then when you have these slots, you just jump into your activity without thinking about it.